I hope you guys don't mind somewhat of an intro today because oh my god, I issued this challenge a couple weeks ago in the unique skills video, but I didn't think one of you guys would actually go and do it. They do get hit a few times through the fight, but the fact that someone actually managed to beat Godfrey using this one attack with basically no trouble, I thought was hilarious enough to mention. Also, it was the only submission I could find. So, congratulations! You get to tell all your friends you were mentioned in a video sponsored by NordVPN. When it comes to the internet landscape, nothing is more overpowered than a fast, reliable VPN, and NordVPN has the fastest internet speeds out there right now. It's got malware protection, it's got DDoS prevention, it stops companies from selling your data, it can unblock TV shows and games that are restricted in your country. Yeah, sure, I totally live in Canada. Why not? Do you have the sudden urge to download this big-ass game on Steam, but you have the attention span of a penguin and don't feel like waiting for more than 5 minutes? Well, thanks to NordVPN's traffic encryption, there's not shitting hell your ISP can do to slow you down. Use the link in the description for an exclusive 2-year plan with a massive discount, and NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee makes it completely risk-free. In a time where cybersecurity is probably the most important it's ever been, a solid VPN really is just one of those things you just shouldn't be without. When just about every big company under the sun can yoink all your information and sell it to other companies to make all those spicy targeted ad campaigns, the least you deserve on the internet is a little bit of damn privacy, okay? Again, you can follow my link down in the description and in a pinned comment. They've got an exclusive 2-year deal going on right now, and their 30-day money-back policy means there's zero risk in just trying it out. Starting off with what I think might be the least spectacular, least eventful tomb in the entire game, Stormfoot Catacombs. It doesn't leave a bad taste in my mouth, nor does it invoke any happy memories I've had with Elden Ring as a whole. If I went to the grocery store to pick up shampoo or some shit and went through this tomb on the way home, the store would still be the highlight of the trip. It's got some flame vents you have to dodge around, but running towards and behind one of them actually reveals an item. And not just any item, our first prattling plate of the journey. I kinda like this because it gets you in the habit of being curious and poking around in places that seem dangerous to look for rewards and stuff that may not always be in plain sight. Other than that, it has a few gloveworts if you're interested in summons. I'm certainly not, but I will be mentioning any summon-related materials and bell bearings found in the catacombs for those that are. To wrap things up, one of the least exciting bosses the game has to offer, the Erdtree Burial Watchdog. But we're just gonna call him the Watchdog, because you're gonna be running into this guy a lot. Pay attention to its heavily telegraphed attacks, throw a couple jumping heavies its way to stagger, and then critical, and then bam! Noble Sorcerer Ashes. Just shitty enough to not feel rewarding, but just good enough to not feel disappointed. This will serve as the baseline for which I will judge all the other catacombs. I'm giving this one a complete middle-of-the-road C. Up next is Murkwater Catacombs, and this one is somehow even less eventful than the one we just got through ranking. You basically just walk in, and the dungeon lever it's right there. Like, it doesn't even have anything to hide. No illusory walls, no treasure chests, it's just a lever and a couple annoying imps, but they do throw in a trap via pressure play just to make sure you're not falling asleep. Run straight through the door, don't even worry about fighting the imps, and head to the dungeon boss, the Grave Warden Duelist. This guy's actually pretty cool. He begins the fight by throwing off his cape, and his demeanor comes across as though he's challenging you to, well, a duel. Unfortunately, any coolness factor in his design is short-lived once you realize how weak he is against backstabs. Not very memorable, but you do get one of the coolest summons in the game. I'll give this one a slightly lower C, a C-. Fringefolk Hero's Grave. I've actually got a lot of good things to say about this one, so anyone that feels like spreading any propaganda in the comments about how this one's bad just because, ooh, big horse cart's scary, I'm gonna break down for you mathematically why this tomb kicks ass. First off, you find a stone sword key, which is already a solid item considering you spent one just to get in here. Head through to the right arch just before the turn in the road and drop down. You'll see a point ahead where the road narrows and the sides are just huge pits. We'll come back to this later, but keep going. Follow the path until you reach a divergence and then head towards the road going up. Kill the Banished Knight for a Dragon Communion Seal, which is what you'll need for all those spicy dragon breath powers. Pick up some dragon wound grease and be on your way. Alright, returning back to the 2 holes on the road. If you're heading down, then approach the hole on the left, this one right here. Wait for an opening and then drop down like so. Don't forget to watch out for imps and flame vents on the way and head forward once the path is safe. I actually don't remember what this item was over here. Holy shit, are you kidding me? Okay, do not cross the bridge if you have heart problems. It's not worth it, and you'll be spawning in 2 grafted scions that you definitely can't kill this early. Just grab the Erdtree's favorite talisman and get the hell out. Drop down this ledge here and follow the natural path. This is also where you pick up that stone sword key. Kill the Banished Halberd Knight to make your life easier, or if you're lucky, he'll Just do that shit. Take out a crossbow of your choosing and shoot down the ropes holding the giant pots. Wait until you see the camera shake and the chariot is directly underneath you, and then fire away. You should destroy it first try, netting yourself a sweet great bow and some ammunition. Finally, the boss can suck my balls. It's the least exciting part of the whole dungeon. For whatever reason, half of the boss's attacks just fly right over your head, which is not a problem I seem to have with any other tree spirit boss in the game, so I'm not sure why this one is so special. But you do get a golden seed out of it, and what's probably one of the best summons in the game. The hidden layers to this tomb is what makes it exciting, and none of it really feels too cryptic or out of the way. The most this tomb ever really asks from you as a player is just looking down. I give this one a solid B+. Moving on. And right around here, I'd say, is where FromSoft really just starts pissing me off. Impaler's Catacombs. This whole damn place is literally just imps. Find this large pressure plate room here where you step back into the room and everything starts rising, step on the floor and then immediately step back off and wait for the floor to rise high enough for you to pass underneath it. You can find a couple grave gloveworts down here, some root resin, a prattling plate that says please help. Yeah, please help me find my way out of this fucking dungeon. Head up the ladder, pull the dungeon lever and jump out the hole in the wall and you're right in front of the boss room. Notice how I didn't disclose too many item locations? It's because there's nothing here. The only bit of knowledge you get is how to potentially deal with the rising floor rooms, which appear later on in other catacombs, and that's the only purpose. That's the only purpose we're here. You want to know what the dungeon boss is? This one will make you mad. It's another watchdog, but this time there's a twist. There are imps. 4 imps that will make your life absolute torment if you do not consider them a high priority. I'm wasting all my flasks here and I haven't even hit the boss once. This is just too much. I really don't like this boss format. I'd rather you just give me 2 watchdogs. I don't want to find the boss and then have to do this extra legwork just to clean out the room and waste time weakening myself to the point where I don't even have any resources by the time I'm actually ready to kill the boss, and you don't even get a good summon out of it. So whatever. This one gets a D. Let's get out of here. Up next is Tombsward Catacombs. Wow, we are really not improving here. This is one of the most annoyingly inane and unassuming experiences I've ever had in an Elden Ring dungeon. We begin with a fog gate that requires a stone sword key to lure you into the false expectation that the item behind it is actually good. Clear out the skeletons and pick up a fucking cookbook. Okay, never mind. Keep heading down, kill the skeletons, pick up the grave glovewort, kill the skeletons, run past the flame vents, kill some more skeletons. Can we stop? Oh, cool, another prattling plate. I'm sorry, are these things really good enough items to be hiding in dungeons? Why are these here? I'm also really not a fan of the enemy variety in this dungeon so far. Like, there's literally just skeletons and nothing else. Whack the pillar to call it down, and then whack it again with a jumping heavy to ride it back up. You got a grave glovewort 2 up here, which is a tad more rare than what we found so far. That redeems this place a little bit, but not much. It really doesn't. Head right and then pull the lever. All right, boss time. What the fuck is this? What is this thing even supposed to be? Oh god, it's eating my face. Get it off, get it off. Basically no HP, but it teleports around like an asshole, making the Cemetery Shade one of the most tantalizing bosses to ever fight, in my opinion. Even if you get lucky and it just stands in one place long enough for you to finish it off with a single melee combo, you don't really feel like you've done anything. Well, at least we get a pretty nice summon, so I'm not complaining. Actually, yes I am. I'm gonna complain a shitload about this. Here, get this D. Deathtouched Catacombs. Okay, finally we're seeing a bit of improvement. Not exactly ending Limgrave's dungeons on a high note, but at least it's something. Another relatively straightforward dungeon infested with skeletons and nothing else. Awesome. Head down the stairs, kill some skeletons. This room is important, but we'll come back in just a second. First things first, pulling the lever will spawn extra skeletons, so I recommend you get rid of the ones in the room prior first. It's a little annoying, but I promise you're saving yourself tons of trouble. Clear them out and then head back to the room with the staircase. Look left and you'll see a nice hidden archway. Follow this and you'll find yourself on the ledge with the archer skeletons, and go on ahead and pick up the Uji Katana, which I don't think I need to tell anyone is one of the greatest starting weapons in the game. This entire tomb was worth it if only for this weapon. It has the same problems other tombs seem to suffer from, which is a distinct lack of any sort of enemy variety, and the whole design of the tomb seems pretty, I don't know, just uninspired. It definitely feels like they started on this one, but then remembered they had a bunch of other late game tombs that needed to be designed, so they were kind of just like, fuck it, let's just put the lever here and move on. The Black Knife Assassin boss is likely the first one of its kind we've seen, and it's got some moves, sure, but the fact that it spawns in at half health makes the whole encounter kind of underwhelming. You do get a sweet talisman out of it, and some death roots, so I'd say the rewards you find in here at least make the tomb worth investigating. I'm feeling a solid C+ on this one. Next on the list is Cliffbottom Catacombs in Liurnia. Probably one of the better ones, in my opinion. This is where we start seeing the omens becoming somewhat regular in terms of tomb enemies. They aren't too hard to take down, their stance breaks pretty easily, but their high damage can sometimes make you think twice about your approach if you see two of them in the same room. Behind a stone sword key gate, you can get the Nox mirror helm, and later on, you can get a scythe. Jesus, shit, it's dark in here. Hang on. Cliffbottom is definitely one of those tombs where you can tell they spent a little more time on, design-wise. Some illusory walls here and there, nothing too fancy, but this is where FromSoft starts getting a little creative with its navigation, which serves as a bit of foreshadowing to the more convoluted path some of these tombs will have you exploring later on. Of course, the boss is another watchdog, but this one has a scepter. That means its attack should be different, right? Well, it has one ranged attack where it summons magical fuck you pellets at you with tracking just accurate and just annoying enough for you to always get hit by. But aside from that, it's just the exact same boss, like with the exact same animations and everything. I mean, maybe this is just a sign of rushed development or something, but yeah, at least they tried, you know? We got a cool helmet, a scythe, and some good summons, and despite the boss being what it was, I actually didn't loathe exploring this one. I'm feeling a low B, a B- on this tomb. Next is the Rhodes End Catacombs. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm really not feeling this one. This tomb decides to throw the lever right in your fucking face and not even attempt any sort of cryptic reveal or employ any sort of critical thinking skills. Once again, we're finding enough imps to fill a dump truck with, and that's the only enemy it seems this tomb can offer us. Aside from a few grave and ghost gloveworts of the 2 and 3 variety, a rune arc, and the watchdog staff. Oh crap, is this foreshadowing? Is there another fucking watchdog in here? I swear to God, dude. Whack the illusory wall right below the lever and reveal the entire rest of the catacomb. And from here, the path to the glintstone sorcerer ashes becomes pretty apparent. Take the narrow hole hidden off to the right of the illusory wall you just took down, and then bust up some more of them while you're at it, sure, and then, oh hey, look, a wild door appeared. Here you're gonna be facing off against the spirit caller snail. And I gotta say, finally, a truly unique boss that we haven't seen yet in any of the tombs so far. Ooh, it's summoning spirits and stuff too. So we have like a Witches of Hemwick thing kind of going on here. What do you say? Oh my God. Fucking Crucible Knights. Of course. Well, at least it isn't summoning watchdogs. Jesus, leave me alone. I think I'd rather have the watchdogs. This guy's guarding the snail like a linebacker. It's amazing how some of these tomb designs completely re-heighten my expectations and just blow me away with how interesting the layouts and the enemies are. And then the very next one I talk about makes me think someone was asleep at the fucking wheel. Shitty items, shitty summons, and you know what? I'm sorry, shitty boss. I'd rather just fight the Witches of Hemwick, and even by Bloodborne standards, that one was still a bit of a sleeper, to be honest. I do not like Rhodes End Tomb. I like to beat it with a broom. I do not like it here or there. I do not like it anywhere. I'm giving it a D. Probably a low one, too. Alright, Black Knife Catacombs, here we go. Have you ever thought back to the first time you encountered a cemetery shade and thought, wow, this fight was too good, I sure wish it was worse? Well, today your wishes have been answered, because the Black Knife Catacombs main boss is a cemetery shade with fucking skeletons. That's already a huge problem out of the gate, because you have to devote the extra attention to hitting them while they're down to finish them off if you don't have any holy damage on you. But worse yet, getting hit by the shade's weird-ass bug spit attack or whatever it's pretty much instant death in this circumstance. There really isn't any other feeling like being rendered completely immobile while a swarm of mobs dance around your helpless and soon-to-be dead body. Like, it's right up there with Chinese water torture. Fortunately, the saving grace of this tomb is an entirely different boss fight hidden behind an illusory wall that drops a great talisman, accompanied with very creative navigation that requires some precise platforming to fully explore. You also get Rosas's axe hidden behind a fog gate in exchange for a stone sword key, which has a unique skill that's basically everything Tibia summons wishes it was, and I guess the Twin Sage Sorcerer summon does have a pretty cool spell. All things considered, I was ready to be a little mean to this one due to its boss fight feeling more inconvenient than it does actually challenging, which I think is the response most people would actually go for. But hey, Rusty wouldn't be Rusty if he wasn't pissing someone off, so here you go. I'll give this one a B. The Caelid Catacombs. Oh my God. Okay. The Caelid Catacombs is our next expedition into a new area, and wow. I could see a bit of an unfortunate trend developing with the Impaler and Rhodes End tombs where the discovery of them started to feel less significant and more like some sort of obligatory routine that you were going through, I guess. And I was really hoping these later game catacombs would serve to bring a little creative direction to some of the weaker tombs that seemed very starved of it. Now, I wasn't exactly accounting for that direction to be straight into a daycare center. Alas, here we are at the Caelid Catacombs. The tomb layout is plain and underwhelming. You find puddles of scarlet rot everywhere, which I guess could support the point that the dungeon is made more exciting due to a new hazard being introduced, but that's kind of like being excited to eat a cake made out of toilet paper just because it's this new idea you haven't seen before. The only notable item in the whole tomb is the Miranda Sprout ashes. Laughable summon quality, and it even has the balls to make you work for it by hiding behind a rot puddle. And just wow, look at that. What is this, the third cemetery shade in a row? I didn't think I'd be running into these guys just as often as the watchdogs, but here we are, I guess. No skeletons this time. Okay, cool, but I'm really starting to run out of patience for this sort of thing. I honestly think Elden Ring has some of the best and worst bosses of any FromSoft game to date. Some of the ones that get repeated often are actually still fun, so I don't mind them nearly as much, but who was in charge of designing the cemetery shade and felt so proud of it that they thought it warranted sticking this guy in 3 dungeons? 3 of them. And the sum what you get is barely even worth it. So you know what? I'm sick of seeing all these rot puddles everywhere. I'm leaving. Enjoy the F tier, you colossally underdeveloped waste of assets. Heading into the minor Erdtree dungeon, we realize very quickly that we're not in much better shape. I'm really starting to think Caelid just ended up with the shortest straw and all of their tombs are just hollowed out, uninspired variants of the others you find in the game. I mean, the caves in Caelid honestly aren't that much better. The only item outside of the spirit summon we get from the boss is a little imp head, which I'm really not crazy about for both utility and fashion purposes. So now that we've looted the only noteworthy item aside from a couple grave glove worths, it's time to head through to the boss. And you son of a bitch. How do you make a duo fight that sucks this hard? How do 2 bosses with completely different weapons end up feeling like the exact same boss? The most hilarious thing about this fight is, I guess, due to the way their AI was written. I don't know, I'm not a programmer, but it always feels like they're both doing the same thing at the same time, be it ranged or melee, leaving no room to attack in either circumstance. This fight is just hard for all the wrong reasons, and I can't stress enough that this isn't some angry gamer act where I find one inconvenience and just convince myself I have to hate everything. No, there's something about Caelid's dungeons that just were programmed to suck balls. Mad pumpkin ashes, I guess, aren't that bad, but I spent too much time triggered by this fight to give a shit, so minor Erdtree Catacombs is going in the D tier. Holy shit. Alright, this is more like it. Wow, what a shocking turnaround. The War Dead Catacombs feel legitimately haunting to explore, and I think that's my favorite thing about it. You head down the stairs, and the first things you see are the spirits of warriors that fought in the Shattering, clean rots and Redmane so pissed off that death can't even stop them from ripping each other's throats out. One of the key aspects of this dungeon that makes it stand out from the others is that it actually feels significant on more than a couple levels. Firstly, it rewards whoever was actually curious enough to head back into Radahn's arena and poke around a little more until they found this dungeon just hanging out near the back of the dunes. Secondly, the lore implications we already went over, and the fact that I just didn't expect to be fighting my way through warrior spirits and shit when they would have filled any other tomb with imps and skeletons and then just called it a day. I don't know, it's just a very welcome change of pace. The items are solid, you find a shitload of gloveworts, Radahn soldier ashes, and the collapsing stars spell, which is probably one of the best sorceries in the game. Head left when you see the Great Bow Knight and circle through the tomb until you find a staircase, take it up and climb out the window, get rid of the Great Bow Knight and pull the lever. Though it's technically a variant of another boss we've already dealt with, the Putrid Tree Spirit still offers us a golden seed upon defeating it, as well as Redmane Knight Oga, another extremely powerful spirit summon. Yeah. What went wrong? You know? Like, why couldn't all the tombs in Caelid be modeled after this one? I mean, it's got its own flaws, sure. The last thing a tree spirit boss needs is a fire AoE that deals rot status, but it's a substantial improvement from the others. The navigation feels fun, the lore actually feels significant. Yeah, I'm proud of Caelid for pulling through and ending on a somewhat strong note. I'm giving this one an A, maybe an A-, like just barely a B+, but not quite. Alright, Altus time. First on the list, we've got the Unsightly Catacombs, and
the only unsightly thing about this tomb is its navigation.
I really don't know how to feel about this one. It's a little different. This is where you start finding Glovewort 4s and 5s on the reg, and the misbegotten enemies hiding amongst the other misbegotten bodies kind of make you think twice before diving into the pit, because you don't know how safe you're going to be, if you're going to be able to sneak around, or if they all get aggroed as soon as you take the plunge. Down here, you can pick up the Winged Misbegotten summon, and the dungeon lever isn't too far from here. The layout isn't really anything we haven't seen before, and now it's time to talk about the boss. A misbegotten warrior being pocket supported mercy style by a perfumer. This fight honestly kind of breaks my heart a little because the concept of this boss really isn't one of those ideas that are doomed from the word go. Usually when we think of duo fights in Souls, we immediately default to the idea of both enemies kind of specializing in either melee or ranged combat. One is typically more aggressive than the other, and that's certainly the case here. But a duo boss that has one half of the duo throwing out support spells and magic shields and shit like that, that sounds cool. That actually sounds like it could be an enjoyable fight. You could have given the perfumer some evasive tactics to make her a little more annoying to pin down, maybe a get out of jail free card if the player starts getting too aggressive or something, because as it stands currently, getting rid of the perfumer doesn't pose any sort of challenge aside from getting whacked by the linebacker warrior. Also, this lion-faced tryhard is something we've already seen like 10 times outside the tombs anyways, which really dampens the experience and turns what would have been a really neat boss concept into another carbon copy. I don't even know if the perfumer summon is good because I've never even used it. Oh, and there's a fucking prattling plate somewhere in here too, I guess. I'm giving this one a C. The boss was kinda new enough, at least by the catacomb standards, but the items were piss poor, and I feel like there were a lot of great ideas here that just didn't get explored as much as they should have, and that sucks. Alright, time to tackle the Wyndham Catacombs. A very early Ghost Glovewort 6, which is a pretty nice find. The Stone Sword key gate you find early on in the tomb reveals a Lightning Scorpion charm, which isn't too bad of a talisman. It's great for Dragon Cult builds if that's something you're interested in. Head left to another rising floor and run straight ahead. I promise there's nothing worth grabbing behind you, just another imp tossing pots. Get rid of the imp, get rid of the knight, pull the lever. Since it's a rising floor room, we should all know how to deal with those by now. Walk on, take a step back, wait for it to rise, and then roll under it. Fight some crabs and pick up the Ancient Dragon Apostle cookbook. I'm not too big on crafting, but this cookbook actually gives you some pretty nice items. Some lightning grease and the ability to craft lightning bone arrows and bolts. Wow. Are you fucking serious? Another, wait, hang on. He's got lightning on his tail, and the ground is covered with water? Oh, okay. I'm picking up what you're laying down. Okay, let's see if this boss is actually any different. Nope, it's not any different. It drops a Glovewort bell bearing though, which is decent, I guess. I don't know, this whole tomb just reeks of this weird indifference. Like, I can't help but feel like every creative decision here was made as though they said, let's just put a sewer here. Why not? Let's just put another rising floor here. Sure, who's gonna say no? Who gives a shit? The enemy variety is kind of nice, even if half of them are piles of flesh and zombies and shit. And even the whole lightning tail gimmick thing that lures you into thinking the boss fight's gonna be different. Not a single time did this ever happen, by the way. I didn't get shocked in the water due to lightning damage, and I literally ran circles around this fucker waiting for it to happen for like a good minute, and it just never did. I'll give this one another C. I don't know, this might be the most middle of the road I've ever felt on a tomb. Next up is Leyndell Catacombs. This one is just fucking weird. The catacombs can be found near the underground roadside grace. The Leyndell Catacombs is a precision mindfuck that I wasn't ready for, and I honestly have to commend the creativity here on this one. I know a lot of people find the navigation annoying, but I actually thought it was a refreshing take, especially after going through so many layouts that seemed copy-pasted and uninspired for the most part. Take the platform up and pull the lever, grab the shadow bait, and kill the omen. Head into the staircase room. Don't worry about the spirit weirdos because they will respawn if you kill them. There's really no point. Take down the illusory wall beside the staircase, and then take down the second illusory wall where you'll find a spirit collar snail and pick up the Haligtree talisman +1. Take the platform back down. We are done here. From the side of Grace, head up the stairs and go right, dodge the flame vent, and kill the omen in the next room if you want to, I guess. Beside him, you'll find a Grave Glovewort 9, and this is kind of huge considering we're still in Leyndell, which still isn't quite endgame territory, but you find a lot of Glovewort 8s and 9s in this tomb, so that's worth picking up. You'll find a faux boss door with a couple omens and a golden rune. Continue up to the next room and you'll find an omen who is looking at the body of the omen you thought you killed earlier. This is a ruse. This is a ploy to confuse you. Do not fall for it. You are smarter than this. Keep continuing forward and you should finally find the lever next to a sacramental bud. Drop down and you've officially circumnavigated the entire tomb and should find yourself relatively close to the side of Grace. Head into the boss room, kill Esker and the dogs, and get one of the greatest talismans in the game. I gotta be honest, this one's an A for me. I honestly really like this tomb and how confusing it can be. After finding so many uninspired layouts with poor enemy variety and items that aren't worth it despite being hidden as though they are, this one was just different. It was a really nice change of pace. Leyndell Catacombs is one of my favorites in the game, hands down. Alright fellas, I think we're on a bit of a redemption arc here. Gelmir Hero's Grave, one of the best in the game. It's got the best items, it's got some of the coolest layout ideas. The chariot has enough respect for you not to follow you all the way down to the magma covered half of the road, which is great for us because that's exactly where we're gonna go first. Face the camera and backstep your way down the lava so it's quicker. Take a left at the end of the road, you will find the ringed finger hammer weapon. Good, great, S rank, paragraph, done. Let's move on. I mean, not really. There's plenty of other good shit in here. We've barely scratched the surface. You can also find the Mantis Blade, which is a bloodletting curved sword those annoying cemetery shades use all the time. You got a second chariot to avoid as well, but this one has a, oh, for fuck's sake, get out, leave, fuck you. This one has a pair of pits on the sides. Drop down here and employ some careful platforming. You've got the Bloodhound set, the Gelmir set, and the boss actually isn't too bad. It's another Red Wolf boss, which can be found pretty regularly as a normal enemy, but at least it isn't another watchdog or some shit. Deathroot, Bloodhound Knight Summon, and now let's get out of here. S tier, high S. Probably the greatest one we've reviewed so far. Auriza Hero's Grave. Very similar set of treasure to the Gelmir Grave. Lots of chariots here, and it can be a little annoying to platform, but before we do any of that, you need to find a stone sword key right now and grab the golden epitaph. Skeletons will not revive if you kill them with this weapon, so this is a huge discovery. At the very last chariot, before the boss fight, find the wooden plank with a golden rune, walk off the side, and do some platforming. Die a couple times, as you naturally would. You can get the Crucible Feather Talisman, which improves dodging, and destroying the chariots in this tomb gets you the Tree Sentinel set and the Holy Ground Ash of War. The boss fight is a Crucible Knight duo fight, one of which has the exact same moveset as the other knights, but he has a name, so that makes him cool. I shit on the Crucible Knights a lot, but they honestly aren't the worst opponents you can have. Their attacks are heavily telegraphed, but they have a pretty surprisingly huge moveset with lots of little differences in their telegraphy that can be easy to mistake as another attack, which can lead to you getting hit. Bringing them down gets you the Crucible set and the Ordovus Greatsword, so that's two amazing armor sets, both of which looked fucking cool, and the Crucible armor set can boost damage on the aspect of the Crucible incantations. Really creative layout and platforming. The boss fight isn't too egregious in terms of repeatability. I'll give this one another A. Good tomb. Up next is another precision mindfuck, the Auriza Side Tomb. This one requires you navigate between two different halves of the same tomb via chest snares. You find a lot of cracked pots and ritual pots in this one, which is okay in terms of items, but the items themselves aren't what's so special about this tomb. I think what really made this catacomb stick out for me was just the idea of it. Jars would ambush you and run into you and explode and shit. Enemies would be constantly out of reach, and you had to figure out which chest to get snared by to eventually somehow make your way up there and gank them all. It's a real winning formula, I think. Basically, the idea here is to find a chest that transports you up to the ledge where the imps are. So take down an illusory wall to the left of this room and spring the trap. It'll teleport you up to an identically designed second half of the tomb that also has imps on the exact same ledge throwing the exact same pots. If you haven't done this tomb, then you didn't follow what the fuck I just said. It's okay, just get in the tomb and do it. It'll make sense. From here, head left and take the chest snare at the very back of the ledge room that's bordered by two braziers. Get the items in this room, but don't head back. Ooh, what's this? A strangely conspicuous ladder in the middle of the room. Climb up to get the lever, head back to the boss door, and kill the Grave Warden Duelist. If you fight him towards the front of the room, the jars won't even aggro, which I think is just funny. And you get what's obviously the best summon in the entire game, the Soul Jars of Fortune. I like this one. I'm gonna give it an A. Another hero's grave with its own unique features. No chariots this time, but you do face a couple revenants in here, so I hope you have a healing incantation ready. The Stone Sword Key Gate has the Crimson Sea Talisman, which increases Crimson Flask efficiency by 20%. This is very good, please get it. This is where Elden Ring introduces to you another feature where you must lure the shrouded enemies into these holy light sources, at which point you can then dispatch them. Find the room with this breakable floor here. Don't be a fucking moron here like me and sprint to the center of the room. Go around and pick up the Leyndell Soldier Summons first, break the floor, and pull the lever to open the big-ass guillotine room. At the very end of this hallway, you'll find a ladder before the boss door. Drop down and kill your first revenant, and then you'll find another prattling plate right in front of a grave duelist. Lure him all the way back to the light source you found beneath the breakable floor, and then take care of him there. This opens the boss door, but we're not done yet. Find the guillotine that'll take you up to this part of the tomb here, take down the Stone Sword Key Gate, and pick up the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman +1, which is great for damage negation. Okay, Okay, now we're done. The boss is an ancient hero of Zamor, which is a pretty common enemy in the Mountaintops area, but this is probably the first time you're seeing this boss, and he even has his own second phase where he starts throwing around the Zamor Ice Storm spell, and his curved sword does frostbite damage. You get the ancient Dragon Knight Kristoff summon from this fight, and of course we can't forget the Black Knife Assassin standing guard just outside the tomb, and getting rid of that boss gets you the Black Knife weapon, which it just kicks copious amounts of ass. You don't have a reason not to get this weapon. I'll give this one another A, a very high A. I liked the introduction of the light source gimmick thing, and riding the guillotine to another area of the tomb felt like I was being rewarded for when I remember doing that in the Black Knife Catacombs. Good design, pretty okay boss, great items. Let's move on. We're officially on the final stretch. The Giant's Mountaintop Catacombs isn't that spectacular compared to other in-game tombs, but it does serve to create this expectation that the in-game tombs have significantly more to offer. Even despite its lack of any unique design or enemy variety, it still ends up being a decent tomb. The secret to navigating this one here is the elevator. Take it down, and then once you have, step on the pressure plate again, and then step off the elevator. This is a Soul's patented design trick we've seen a few times where the elevator is actually two separate platforms in one, and taking this down takes you even deeper into the catacomb. From here, you find a couple frostbite watchdogs, and I hope you're prepared because for whatever dumbass reason, the in-game catacombs see quite a massive uptick in watchdog activity, I've noticed. The boss is another ulcerated tree spirit. Okay, I'm starting to get a little tired of seeing these guys, but I'll never say no to a golden seed, and we also get a glovewort bell bearing and a fire monk summon. So pretty okay items, pretty cool tomb layout, even if the enemy choices here don't exactly make me feel the happiest in the world. I'll give this one a B. It's alright. Fairly above average, but nothing else. The hero's grave on the mountaintop might be my favorite tomb to explore. The Stone Sword Gate contains the Flame Protect Me incantation, just I don't even have to sell you on that one. And the entire tomb sort of takes the idea of taking down these shrouded enemies with holy light sources even further by placing a giant right before the boss door, and the player has to call the elevator back up to reveal a light source that you can then use against the giant. Taking him down, of course, opens the boss door. There's just so many great items in this one. You got the cranial vessel candle stand, the giant seal, and the tomb boss is also another Zamor hero, which drops the entire Zamor armor set as well as the Zamor curved greatsword. And I voiced in past videos how I prefer the unique Zamor Ice Storm skill above the sorcery itself. It just does so much more damage, and it seems to proc frostbite so much faster. You have a much tougher time being attacked out of it due to its hyper armor. It's just so good. The unique skill of the candle stand hammer is just amazing at taking out so many different types of enemies. It can pretty much melt weaker bosses. This one gets an S. I think the highest S. The hero's grave in the mountaintops just has so much good shit without sacrificing any creative ideas. It really feels like a culmination of a bunch of other little tricks that earlier tombs have been teaching you. One of the best. And on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, we have the constipated Snowfield Catacombs. Holy fuck, this tomb sucks. So many bad enemy choices. Another watchdog, of course, that's either way too easy because it gets killed by the frost vent in the room, or way too hard because you try to be smart and lure it into the frost vent and then end up getting yourself killed trying to do so. Glovewort 8s and 9s can be found here, but that's really nothing special in the end game. Every tomb has those. A shitload of imps that I'm honestly just sick of fucking seeing everywhere. I'm tired of them. The only notable item is another imp head that increases arcane by 2, and because of the way arcane works, this will be either completely useless because your arcane is 9 and an extra 2 points won't make a difference, or it'll be completely useless because your arcane is 65 and an extra 2 points won't make a goddamn difference. The boss is a putrid grave duelist. Nothing really to say here. He drops the Rotten Gravekeeper cloak, which looks cool with like 2 other items, I guess. I've never been a fan of rot-themed items, but I can see a few players here and there getting their fashion on with this one. I most certainly will not. D, it's a D. Hard D, low D, it's fucking dreadful. Get this out of my face. Finally, the hidden path to the Haligtree is one I think a lot of people slept on. It's got some really decent items, including the final death root you pick up in the game, the Silver Scarab Talisman, which increases item discovery by 75, which is a shitload, a Hero's Room, and the Spelldrake Talisman +2. The only qualm I have with this one is I think the hidden stuff in this tomb might be a little too hidden. It does kind of hint at the fact that you're supposed to drop down right here where the railing is out, but you don't see any platform beneath you that's gonna save you. So it kind of just feels like the game is being a dick. Of course, being bored one day, I just decided to take the plunge and oh hey, look at that, another one of those weird Invisibridge bullshits. You can see a vulgar militant just hanging out, suspended in the ether to the side of you, which is supposed to indicate another invisible walkway. Take this down and drop down to where you see the ledge and grab the hero's rune. This next part is very important. Once you climb into this window, you are going to be the prime target of like 10 land octopi and a vulgar militia gank squad the size of a Spartan army. The best way I think to deal with these guys is to just back your ass up into the narrow archway here, just before the boss room, and just bottleneck that shit, just shamelessly. Just don't even give them a chance to fight. Go right and take the elevator for the Spelldrake Talisman, unequip all your weapons, and then head through the door, wait until the Mimic Tier starts running at you, and then re-equip everything. Get yourself an easy kill, haha, and the Black Flame Monk Amon summon. I liked the layout of this one. It was really unique, even if the whole invisible bridge shit is a gimmick that's starting to overstay its welcome by this point, in my opinion. But I think the fact that I went by this tomb like 6 times not expecting this drop to actually take me anywhere, only to find out there was a whole tomb underneath me, I think it was a nice surprise. A decently strong note to end on. I'll give this one a B+.